So you get to the end of the interview and they say, so, what questions do you have for me? Did you know there are right type of questions and wrong type of questions you can ask? In this video, we give you the best questions to ask at the end of an interview. What's up, job seekers? This is Tony R. Sanders, and you are watching The Happy Meter. This channel is all about helping job seekers connect, find, and do the work that they love. In this video, we're going to talk about the best questions for you to ask at the end of an interview. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. There are 3 things I want you to absolutely avoid at the end of an interview. 3 simple things. Number 1, easily Googleable answers. Don't ask questions that you could have easily Googled before you came to the interview. I don't know if Googleable is a word, but it's gonna work in this scenario, and you know what I mean. There are certain questions that you should just avoid, like, so, how long have you guys been in business? That's a bad question. You could have looked that up on their website, and I hope you're doing your research before the interview. You definitely should be. Number 2, you don't want to ask questions that are generic, the type of questions that they hear every single day. So, what's the next step in the process? Of course you're gonna ask that. Everybody's gonna ask that. I'm not saying that's a bad question, but maybe save that one for your very last question as you're leaving. Most interviewers are gonna answer that for you anyway, so that's not a question you need to be prepared to ask, but if you do ask it in the end of the interview process. The third and final thing I want you to avoid is not having any questions at all. I hate when we get to the end of an interview process and someone says, well, I think it covered everything. I don't really have any questions. To me, that just says you weren't prepared coming into the interview process and you didn't do proper research to have questions ready for your interview. You can tell a lot about a person based on the types of questions they ask. So have questions prepared, and you want to have smart questions prepared. And so I have a couple of examples for you. We have 3 categories of questions you should ask at the end of every single interview. The first category is you should be asking research-based questions. Maybe you did some research on the company because they were recently in the news for a big project that they just landed. Maybe you've been looking at Glassdoor or some type of online review process and you have questions about some of the things that current or even former employees are saying. But you want to ask research-based questions to let them know that you really care about this opportunity, you've done the research, and you're interested in being a part of this organization. The second category of questions we want to ask are performance-based questions. These questions are going to help them visualize you being in that role and performing well on a consistent basis. A good example of a question that is performance-based would be, so, in the first 90 days of this role, what are some of the tasks and the action items you'd want someone to complete to be successful in this role? That's going to give them a great insight to how you're forward thinking and you're already thinking about your future success in that role. The third and final category are culture-based questions. These questions are going to help you get a good idea of what the environment is like and how well the culture is going to align with your needs. Now, if you want to learn more about your needs and what makes a good job, I suggest clicking the YouTube card above me and watching my video on what makes a good job. But some of those things you want to ask about are the departmental culture aspects, not just the company culture, but what's the culture like in this department? How often do we meet? Do we have team meetings? Do we have a huddles? How frequent are the one-to-ones? That's going to give you a good idea of what style of leadership you're going to be walking into. You also want to know how the company rewards and recognizes their high achievers. What does it look like here when someone performs really well? How does the company or the manager or the department reward them for their hard work? And then you also want to ask about relationship buildings, especially in the times during COVID and everyone's working remote and we're meeting on Zoom. What things are you guys doing intentionally around relationship building? Now, they may not have answers to all those questions, but it's going to give you information you need to make the best decision about your career. And it may result in them saying, you know what, this is not going to be a good fit, or you saying this isn't going to be a good fit, and that's okay too. I'd rather know that right then and there than to be strung along waiting by my phone for that person to call and never getting a call back, which I know some of you guys have experienced. So let's get to the point there. And then I want to give you a bonus tip. And this question is really difficult, so I want to acknowledge that up front, and you have to be prepared for the answer. And it's going to kind of put the recruiter or whoever's giving the interview kind of in a hot seat, but it's a great question to ask to really cut to the chase. I would ask them, so based on what you've seen so far, how well do you think I do at this company? That's gonna give them the opportunity to just tell you, hey, you know what, based on your skills, based on your experiences, based on what you shared, I think you do great here. Or, honestly, we've had better candidates come through and I think we're probably gonna go in a different direction. Whatever it is, you have to be okay with that and know that that's the truth so you can move forward in your career process, finding the work that you love. Because at the end of the day, I just want you to work happy. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. I'll see you guys in the next video.